So in today's video, I wanted to cover what will void your warranty for your roof. There's a lot of things to get into when it comes to this video. I still encourage you, read the brochures, don't just take your contractor's word for it. But I'm gonna go in a little more depth about things that a lot of people may not consider and they may wanna take into account. Side note as well, the warranties are gonna vary a little bit by the shingle manufacturer. So there's a lot of nuances outside of just the different kind of shingle types. So make sure you know what kind of warranties that are actually provided to you by that shingle manufacturer. So let's get right into it. The number one thing that I see that is going to void a roof warranty is going to be the ventilation. This is something that a lot of the times gets overdone or underdone. I'm actually dealing with a home in Atlanta right now where there is no intake, meaning there's no way for the air to actually come into the attic. Side note, the homes were built in 1897, so it wasn't really a big priority back then. And it's not like it was code standard and everything back then. They were just throwing up homes. But they don't have soffits, so there's no way for the air to enter the attic. So there is a system we can use to put that in there. But the last thing I want to do is put a new roof on a home and it can't be warranted due to the fact it does not have proper ventilation. So proper ventilation, I'm going to throw up a video that is going to go over most of the ventilation mistakes I see. But making sure that your contractor does the calculations. This isn't complicated. There's a couple of free calculators online that you can make sure you're getting enough intake versus exhaust. But making sure that attic is properly breathing is going to be a big factor in whether you have issues down the road and ultimately if they're going to be covered by the shingle manufacturer. Because most ventilation issues are not going to be a big problem until a few years down the road after it's gone through a few seasons of it being really, really hot up there. Spray foam installation has also become very popular over the last few years. This is definitely something to note, that if you do buy a home with this, to still make sure that the shingles are actually being ventilated properly. If somebody does the spray foam right underneath the deck of the shingles, that is typically going to void the warranty. Yes, it creates a better environment in the home, and I'm not at all against spray foam, but there's certain ways to install it and there's certain ways to not install it to still allow that roof to breathe, to where we can talk to our manufacturer reps and still put a warranty on that roof. Something else to include when it comes to ventilation is making sure your roofing contractor understands what kind of exhaust is going to be needed for your roofing system depending on how the roof is built. There's a lot of forms of exhaust, and there's a lot of different areas in the United States where certain forms of exhaust are just going to work better than other ones. So making sure they're not only doing the calculations, but adding the right kind to make sure it's ventilating the best for you all year round. Because ventilation is one of the biggest things I see that shortens the lifespan of roof, but is also going to void your warranty. Number two I want to get into is the components. So this is a huge thing you need to watch out for when these contractors are making big promises that you're giving you a lifetime roofing system. Most of the manufacturers cannot give you, whether the contractor says it or not, a lifetime warranty or an extended warranty without using all the qualifying components. What that means is if I'm installing an Owens Corning shingle or an Atlas shingle like who we're certified through, all the other components that go on that roof also need to be an Atlas product. You need to use X amount of qualifying products to get certain warranties. So if I want to give somebody a lifetime warranty, which is our highest in the industry, I need to put on 5 out of 6 qualifying components. So I need to make sure the underlayment matches. I'm using the Summit 60. I need to make sure the starter matches. I need to make sure the hip and ridge match. All these need to be done by the same manufacturer to make sure you can actually get these extended warranties. This is where you need to be careful because a lot of contractors try to save costs by using generic roofing components or other products. And what that does is, yes, you may be able to install those shingles and you might get a 30-year out-of-the-box warranty from a shingle manufacturer, but you don't get the extended warranties. And what happens is if you don't use a certified contractor who actually has a manufacturer rep that they use that can help push these warranties to go through, you're going to run into some serious issues. I understand if people are moving quickly, they just want to throw something up there, but you could potentially be putting the next homeowner in a good bit of jeopardy if they run into issues in a short period of time, which is very likely if they decide to rely on a warranty that the roof doesn't actually qualify for. Last, I want to get into one of the most common issues that I see is going to be something called striping. So after a roof installation occurs, a lot of the oils that are on the shingles can lead to a slight color variation when it's installed on the roof. This was super common back when we used to install GAF, Timberland HEZ. For some reason, the charcoal color It just had a lot of extra oils in it when it was packaged, and when you see it on the roof, I'll throw up a couple photos where you can see what I'm talking about. It just has a striping effect on the roof, and a lot of homeowners have concerns with this, which is very, very valid. Just know 99% of the time this is usually going to fade with a little bit of sun exposure. But with that being said, your contractor has to do a few things to make sure that if you do have issues to where the striping doesn't disappear, that it is going to be covered. A lot of these manufacturers are going to recommend pictures on day 1, pictures on day 30, pictures on day 60, all the way up to the 90-day mark, which is where most manufacturers will stop covering after that period. But if after a couple months of being in the sun, it doesn't season in, as we like to say, and make sure that the color is uniform across the roof, this can be grounds for a roof replacement, because a lot of times you can't really spot repair striping because you want all the shingles to come from the same factory. You want it to ideally come from a similar lot to make sure you don't have these issues to begin with. So making sure that that is documented on the front end can save you a lot of headache in the back end. Definitely some things to consider when your contractor is talking to you about warranties, which one's going to be covered, because I don't know about you and me, but if I'm spending $10, $15, $20,000+ on a project, I want to make sure it's protected from day one up until the lifespan that that roof is supposed to have. I hope this video has been super helpful. Thanks for watching, guys.